Throughout human history, one thing has been a constant: crime. There are many types of crimes committed and many types of investigators who look into them. Criminals get very creative to stay ahead of the law. Find out crime doesn't pay. Join Jason Estes as he dissects various crimes, mysteries, and disappearances.
Crime Maze.
Hello, everyone. Let me just get myself back on camera here. Hello, thank you for joining me, my friends. You see, I got a smile on my face, don't I? Because I see one person already on my live. This time, I don't think we have any technical difficulties, but you let me know. First of all, can you hear me? And you know who I am, right, folks? This is Jason. I go by ESTEY'S Crime Maze. That's right. What do you think of my shirt, folks? I'm really happy, very, very honored and privileged that, and grateful. A nice lady friend of mine, great friend in Alberta, made some shirts for me. She's got two and she's making more. That's right. ESTEY'S Crime Maze. And thanks to my buddy Joe from State of the Deep, one of our amazing guests over at the Devil's Advocate show. Thanks again, Joe, for the amazing backdrop. I hope you wouldn't mind maybe creating me some different ones from time to time. Would be cool as well. But thank you very much for this. I'm really enjoying it. So it's great to be here, folks. Do I need to play my intro again? Because at the moment, the one and only person seemingly that was on my live has just disappeared. And I notified the public that I was going live. Obviously, I don't expect that I'm going to get hundreds or thousands of people yet. My channel's still growing, but we're almost at 800 subscribers, my friends, already. And I've only done, I think, what, 65 or 70 videos or something like that? No, I'm not a Jay Embry or Pavarotti where he does hundreds and hundreds of videos. And he's never done any interviews. I got some questions about Pav. But anyway, and Pav knows I've challenged him. My guests know, and Devil's Advocates, I've respectfully and it's almost like a joke. I've challenged him to a boxing match, but more importantly, an interview. Not even so much a debate, an interview. Because I'll treat him with respect, but I'll be firm. You know, let's see if he's the real deal or not. Because as you guys and gals know, it took me a while to get here, but I really believe when you connect all the dots, there was no crime. There was no crime at 1122 King Road that night. All four students are alive. I mean, it has all the earmarks of being a staged crime scene, my friends. That's a fact. It was a staged crime scene. Okay? And I think the circumstantial evidence, therefore, is overwhelming that those students are most likely alive. They were extracted by the U.S. Marshals, baby. Yes. Okay? And we'll get into it. Today, I want to discuss more of the audio, my friends, but just a real quick reminder before we get to the recent audio that's been released by Jules. I think she goes by Jules Trade or something on YouTube. Jules paid $900 apparently to get this audio from Moscow Police Department, ironically, Moscow, Idaho, right? So, but just a quick reminder, my friends, going back to the very beginning of the case. And I keep saying it on my videos, my friend, because it's so important to keep repeating, right? We almost got to be almost like mainstream media. Keep repeating, because this is the truth. We never saw any body bags. Mainstream media usually doesn't tell you the truth. Of course, we know that. They won't tell you what I'm about to tell you. No body bag seen. No leaked raw crime scene photos. That means no phone camera footage either, my friends, even. No surveillance footage continuity. No security camera footage, of the crime scene. None of that. With all the college kids around, don't you think they would have taken pictures if a real crime took place, my friends? Of course they would have, right? More likely than not, college students would have been taking pictures of the blood, etc., the bodies. None of it happened, my friends. mainstream media, the likes of Nancy Grace, Ashley Banfield, this goof clown, I believe, Brian Enton. I think he's CIA. But anyway, all these people, and Drunk Turkey Show, even my buddy Daniel from the Drunk Turkey Show, he doesn't tell you any of this apparently. That the mainstream media would have got leaked crime scene photos if a crime scene really happened, my friends, because we know. And thank you for being here, my friends. I see my audience now. Reagan is here. Thank you, or Regan. Thank you, Regan. Faye Knox, I'm here. All right. Thank you, Faye. Is that your real name or is that 11? Faye Knox 2138. Okay. 11 is one of our guests, by the way, over at Devil's Advocates. He's a New York police officer, cop. But as I was saying, my friends, oh, Phoenix is me, laugh out loud. Regan says, hello, Phoenix. Thank you for being here, Phoenix. As I was saying, Phoenix and Faye Knox and the rest of you, in almost every high-profile case the last several decades, right? Mainstream media with their money, the resources, the persuasion, the whole machinery there with mainstream media, whether it be CNN, Fox News, all the mainstream media, they almost always therefore get leaked crime scene photos in these high-profile cases, or leaked autopsy photos. Did we see any of that in the IDAHO4, my friends? Yes or no? You know the answer, right? I'll let you put it in the chat right now. Give you 10 seconds. Did we see any leaked crime scene photos or autopsy photos, folks? Faye Knox is her real name, she says, 2138. I was on the panel. Thank you for coming over, Phoenix. I thought you were a different Phoenix when you were on the panel last night. I was going to address you, but you went off screen. But I'm glad I didn't address you because I would have got you wrong. I thought you were Phoenix that goes over on Birdie's show all the time. She calls herself Phoenix Live, I think. But anyway, so great to see you, Phoenix. Thank you for being here. I hope you guys and gals will subscribe to my channel if you enjoy my videos. Give me the thumbs up. It all helps with the algorithms, of course. Hit the bell icon to be notified for future videos. And again, share my videos, please. That all helps with the algorithms getting the video to ultimately you guys and gals. By the way, nobody's mentioned I have a different look today. What do you think? I kind of feel like a virgin. You know why? Because I shaved today. I had a goatee the last couple months. Now I'm sounding like a narcissist or wannabe narcissist. But here we are, my friends. It's ESTEY'S Crime Ace. Great to be with you, everyone. You know the answer that I just posed to my audience, right? Is that we never saw, and you would never see any authenticated, real, raw crime scene photos. And then the feds destroyed the house? Are you kidding me? Remember, my friends, in the defense and the prosecution, I brought it up on Devil's Advocate show. I hope you guys will check out our show. Devil's Advocates, go over there, my friends. We also do lives. Devil's Advocates goes live 9 p.m. almost every night, okay? They got a show tonight as well, but I probably won't be on. I usually don't go on Sundays. Yeah, Phoenix, exactly. Not enough blood. No, there's no blood other than they put some fake blood, I believe, paint or pig's blood, most likely, on the foundation of the house. And that confused me, like it did a lot of people. The first half year or so, I thought, oh, I guess there must have been a stabbing. Look at all this blood. It's seeped on the foundation of the house, just like we were told and shown, right? That's just part of the staging, everyone, right? There's no way and the reason why it's not real blood, everyone, why we can, I think, firmly say that is because it would have been washed away within days. The forensic investigator teams would have washed that away, literally within 24, 48, 72 hours. And I know this because I asked one that question, and he said yes, they would have washed it away. But it wasn't for the IDAHO4, my friends. If any of you know how long that blood stayed on the foundation of the house, please let me know. I think it stayed on for weeks because they needed, again, my friends, the feds, they needed to show one thing in front of us as part of the PSYOP, psychological operations, I believe, to make you think that a quadruple homicide occurred when it didn't. Okay, my friends? And then when we go in the rabbit hole, we'll discuss this on future lives. Under USC Code 31, for example, Witzik, you find out that, guess what? the feds can legally stage a violent event if a confidential informant has been compromised. Did you guys know that? And many people have been talking about there must be a confidential informant most likely, involved in this case, right? Whether it be Bethany, perhaps, or Dylan, or the beautiful Keely Gonzalez, who we're supposed to believe was stabbed to death and her nose was busted, all this horse shit. Madison Mogan, right? She could have been a confidential informant, or Ethan Chapman, and then finally Xander Canoodle. But somebody was probably a confidential informant, probably helping with drug task force, probably working almost hand in hand at times with drug task forces, or covertly, right? Covertly. And I think that one of the girls probably more or less one of the girls, probably just had too much loose lips, talked a little bit too much, perhaps, and then the U.S. Marshals would have known, and they would have known that their lives were in danger, that maybe gangbangers or cartel members were after them. U.S. Marshals would know, right, and they would know they had to extract them, get them removed from the house. And Ethan Chapman, I just speculating here, my friends, but he could have been. He could have chosen to be extracted, or maybe had no choice, but he could have been just part of it by association, right? Because he's the boyfriend of Xander Canoodle, right? So that's how it could have went down that way. Regan, also known as Phoenix, says, Dylan, I believe, was crying tears of guilt in court. I don't trust her. I agree with you, Phoenix. You can't. I mean, she delays a 911 call. She waits 8+ hours to call 911. Dylan and Bethany, it's so ridiculous. That's unheard of, folks, right? Not to mention that they were untouched. What is going on here? If there was a real assailant that actually did a hit, or more than one assailant, they're not going to leave Dylan and Bethany alive. That makes no sense, my friends. Even everybody who thinks an atrocity happened, and it's okay if you think that. Even DA and I disagree at times. But if you think a hit took place, the people that think a hit took place, they can't justify, well, why would Dylan Bethany, why would they allow them to be alive? These people have seen them go in. Even if you've got a mask on, you're not going to leave. If you're going to do a quadruple homicide, you're not going to leave 2 roommates alive. This is not how the real reality works, folks, right? The real world. And then Phoenix says, that's why I asked 1-1 if they could legally get in trouble. Exactly. By the way, Phoenix, how's my voice? I only have one headphone that works, but hopefully it's not affecting how I'm coming across on the mic, or do I need to be closer to the mic? Is that better sound? I like to sit straight here, about this far away from the mic. Is that just as good, pretty much? What do you think? Give me an idea, folks. Thank you. I'm still new to the game here. You sound great. Oh, thank you, Phoenix. That means a lot. So then I'll know too, more or less how to sound on the lives over at Devil's Advocate show as well. Sina Nepal, 1970 says, good morning from Australia. Here after watching DA last night and a new subscriber. Thank you, Sina. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Thank you so much. Oh, you just disappeared. Oh, there you are. Sina Nipo. Thank you. All the way from Australia. This is awesome. Yeah, feel free, my friends. As I've said on past lives, let me know what country you're in if you feel comfortable, and I can just tell the rest of the world what country you're in. I'm not great with pronouncing names, my friends. I'm trying my best. Obviously, I want to get your names. Phoenix, for some reason on here, is choosing to go by Regan, but her real name's Phoenix. So that's cool. Janis Joplin backwards, Sina says. Oh, cool. Janis Joplin, she was one of the best, or if not the best singer back in the day, the female singers. What a career she had. What a life. Phoenix is from the USA, New York. All right. Thank you, Phoenix. Yeah, Phoenix, I'll ask you, dear, before we get to the actual audio, do you think a crime scene, a real crime took place or not? Or if you're undecided, feel free to let me know that as well in the audience. A lot of people are starting to agree with me, my friends. Even some of the guests on the Devil's Advocate show They're starting, I think, at times to lean towards the extraction theory, particularly my buddy Joe from Stay the Deep. You know, some sort of operation certainly took place, as Joe says, and he also agrees a lot of the time with at least partly of this extraction operation theory, that they rescued at least several of those students, and I think probably all four, in my opinion. And this is good news, folks, right? And again, the parents, they never grieved even close to so-called normal. Their behavior was off the scale weird, wasn't it, folks? They never cried. You know, Ethan Chapman's family, you know, I'm sure they're great people, the parents, but they never cried as far as I could tell. And they said they weren't even angry at the assailant. Your beloved son has been brutalized, apparently, you know, so-called stabbed to death, and now we're learning supposedly his legs were gashed, you know, first, all this horse shit. And the parents say they're not even angry at the assailant. And as far as I know, the parents, they're not from a Buddhist temple or something. They're not like monks. I mean, why would you say that? Why? Of course you'd be angry, in my opinion. I mean, come on. Anyway, just some thoughts there. Now let's get to the audio in a second here, my friends. But first, Phoenix says, I think a crime happened. Okay. But then she says, but not as they say it did. Something isn't right. The dog had no blood. Exactly. But if a crime did take place, think about this. If a real homicide or homicides took place, I would say to you, Phoenix, if you watch my videos, you'll know this. Then again, we would have seen, I argue, leaked raw crime scene photos of that crime scene, right? We would have seen body bags coming out of the house. No body bags. Even one the New York cop has to admit, this is bizarre. No body bags. You know, mainstream media would have got camera shots, most likely of body bags or a gurney, or maybe they would have put a white sheet on the bodies. You know, I don't want to sound too morbid here, folks, right? But that's what you would have seen. You would have seen evidence of the bodies being removed. We didn't see it, my friends. You would have seen most likely the coroner coming in or rolling out of that house with the bodies, right? And no police sirens. There was no ambulance sirens heard or seen, right, folks? And when we get to the audio, I'll be describing how. Well, let's get to the audio right now, my friends. Not one pick in a college town. That's what makes me think the same. Exactly. Thank you, Phoenix. So Phoenix is probably, I'm guessing you're aware, Phoenix, and maybe you heard the audio that came out. My buddy DA played it on his channel, of course, Devil's Advocates. He did a great job in his own way, giving his opinions of what he's hearing. Certainly, it sounds like screams. And this audio originally came from Jules on her channel first, apparently, and she paid $900 to get the audio that supposedly is from the Moscow, I guess legitimately, it's from Moscow Police Department. But here's the thing, my friends. Here's the million-dollar question. Did the Moscow Police Department, with the feds, you know, with some their experts, did they fake at times that audio? Did they, you know, is this just more theater and distraction largely? Are we to really believe those are real screams from four beautiful students being stabbed to death that night at 1122 King Road? Do you really believe that? I don't. In my opinion, I think it's probably fake, my friends. And respectfully, I guess you got, you know, Jules, who I assume she thinks it's real. I mean, if she doesn't think it's real, she's going to have to come to terms with almost kind of wasting her $900. Although I think she can also say to herself, you know, it's good. There's nothing wrong with paying money to get some of this amazing information on the Idaho 4, right? Whether it be court docs, etc. But let's keep an open mind here, folks, and let's use critical thinking, right? We know we've been lied to so many ways in this case, from top to bottom, folks, and even the court docs, right? Once you dig in, my friends, to some of the U.S. codes, like I have it written down here somewhere. We're going to talk about future lives, hopefully. U.S. Code 3521 WITSEC, my friends. Guess what? Legally, the feds, they can actually redact court documents. They can seal court documents. They can fake deaths in a crime scene, staging crime scenes. Yes. And my friends, here's the important point. So even with court docs or and the Moscow Police Department, any court records that come out from them or files, etc., FBI, etc. Guess what? Legally, the feds can actually they can lie to you, my friends. They can manipulate you two ways to Sunday. They don't have to give you real court docs under certain conditions, like U.S. Code 3521 WITSEC, my baby. Okay, they don't. They can do anything they want. They can do a show hearing. They can do a show trial, and that's exactly what we saw, I believe, with the IDAHO4, my friends. Although we didn't have a trial, I always say we saw show hearings. The defense and the prosecution are all in on it, in my opinion. This is one big, massive conspiracy, and those students thus are protected. They're in the WITSEC program. They're relocated, most likely outside the United States. Yes, my friends, this is the real reality of what went down in IDAHO4, I believe, my friends. Those students are alive, and this is great news. And we shouldn't believe Steve G, in my opinion, the father. I think he's told to lie. And he doesn't even cry in his interviews. Are you kidding me? The guy's probably, as Bertie once said, he looks like a Fed and he acts like a Fed. I wouldn't be surprised if he is a Fed in his own way, or he's just controlled by the FBI. He's told, my friends, him and Christy G and the daughter, Olivia Gonzalez, at times, I believe the Feds are for sure debriefing them, in my opinion, at times. And they're telling them, put this highly emotionally charged narrative, try to convince the public that your daughter and the rest of the students were stabbed to death like we were told. Because otherwise, my friends, we could see it, right? It was a staged crime scene. There's nothing to show us that a real crime took place. Nothing. Just because you have crime scene tape, that doesn't mean a real crime scene took place. Normally it does, but not with the IDAHO4. That's just part of the staging, I believe, my friends, the cover up. Okay? Because again, if you really had homicides in that house, you better believe we would have seen leaked crime scene photos. You better believe they wouldn't have tore down the house if it was a real crime, a quadruple homicide, right? And again, college students would have even taken pictures, not to mention mainstream media, and we would have seen body bags. And by the way, my friends, I know I'm getting caught up the audio right now, but I feel like I'm on a roll. As I said on DA's show, and I'll keep saying it at times, but Moscow local PD, didn't they move they started moving some of the victims' things out, right? I think a few days later, or was it a few weeks later or something? Anyway, a few days later, they eventually put the mattress of one of the victims. They put a mattress in like a hillbilly truck, okay? Half of it sticking out with just a mattress cover and blood on the mattress. It's like the feds wanted us to see blood to make you think this is real blood from one of the students. Forensic teams don't work like that. I believe even one agreed. Forensics, investigators, local law enforcement, they don't do this, folks, in a real crime. You're not going to put a mattress in like a hillbilly truck, half hanging out, again, just covered with a mattress cover and blood on it. But this is what happened, the IDAHO4, my friends, and they're trying to they're hoping you're too stupid or naive or don't care, that you won't think about otherwise, that this is fake, man. It's staged. Anyway, Phoenix says, why did they claim the bodies weren't taken out right away? I thought they have to bring the bodies by ambulance and be told by a doctor they're dead. Excellent comment, Phoenix. That's such a great comment that I really didn't quite think in those terms. I'm going to take a picture, and maybe I might ask one on the DA show, Devil's Advocates. I might ask him that question. So if you don't mind, I'm going to take this, or to just take a picture, I should say, before I take an actual screenshot, because I'm taking a picture of the laptop. Let me read her comment again. And I can't answer her right away. I can't answer her exactly, but she says, why did they claim the bodies weren't taken out right away? Exactly. I thought they have to bring the bodies by ambulance and be told by a doctor they're dead. Yeah, we didn't see any ambulances. I didn't see any, especially the night of, right? Certainly no ambulances taking bodies out. I mean, that shows you right there, folks. It's a staged crime scene. How else do you interpret it if you want to be honest, right, folks? I mean, come on. It's so crazy, this case, my friends. But that's why, again, I have this theory. It took me a while to connect all these dots, but that, and other people have done it online as well, that this was an extraction, removal, and I also add staged event. Okay, folks, it absolutely was. And more people are agreeing with me. And you can agree to disagree too. That's okay. But if you think it was a real crime, you know I'm going to challenge a lot of you from time to time. If you really think it's a crime, like this Pavarotti out there, Jay Embry, he keeps saying atrocity, atrocity, atrocity. Almost every video, he seemingly is trying to convince you that an atrocity took place. Just what we were fed by FBI, CIA, and corporate media. But he never talks about, well, wait a second. If it was an atrocity, again, why no body bags? Where are the ambulances? Why didn't we hear ambulances and or see them, the lights, the police lights? Why are all the neighbors quiet? Why wouldn't they have taken photos and been talking about all this quadruple homicide, and the noise, and I mean, and then you got Dylan Bethany. Jay Embry thinks that Aryan Knight family members and the Aryan family, that they intimidate Dylan Bethany not to call 911 for 8 hours, and he has no proof of that. I mean, it's crazy. Do you really think gangbangers operate like that? Are they really going to just intimidate two survive? You're going to leave two people alive. You're just going to intimidate them and say, "Don't call 911 for 8 hours." Maybe put a gun to them. That Jay Embry seems to think. And don't call 911 for 8. That's not how it went down. What makes more sense, in my opinion, is that the feds, U.S. Marshals, they probably told Dylan Bethany, do not call 911 for at least 8 hours. We're getting these students out of here. And who knows, Dylan Bethany, one or both of them may have been working, in tandem with the police department some way, or drug task force. We don't know their exact connections in all this, but we do know that they were either at the house or they weren't at the house. But we know they eventually made the 911 call after 8+ hours, though, no less. So ridiculous. So ridiculous. Crazy. It's almost laughable. Yeah, Phoenix said, that's why I asked 1-1 how the kids could just be hanging out together. Yes. That's right. Oh, and Phoenix also says, or Cena says, in Australia, and NZ ambulance do not carry those already dead. The past are always picked up by a coroner. Thank you. Well, we didn't see any coroner as well picking up those bodies. And again, we would have seen body bags. And any coroner reports, you got creators like Jay Embry and others, rightly so, I guess they're going to try to go over or tell you that there's been coroner reports. But what they don't tell you is, in my opinion, we can't believe anything. We shouldn't believe any of these coroner reports. How can you believe the coroner? She's probably in on all this, folks. This is because, again, we didn't see any leaked autopsy photos. We would have seen that. Okay. Secondly, this Kathleen Mabbitt, I think is her name. She's an interesting woman. She wears several different hats, apparently. She's a nurse. She's a coroner. Some people have even joked maybe she's an actress too, or has another job. She's got at least 3 jobs, if not 2. I think 3. Nurse, coroner. Oh, and I think she's a lawyer. I think she's a lawyer too. Anyway, but Kathleen Mabbitt, my friend, she's acted very, very strange in her few interviews that she has done, in my opinion, too. She went on, for example, describing how Xana, acted differently, defending herself, fighting for her life, and her wounds were different, I think she said, and she said the other victims' wounds were different. It's all nonsense, my friends. There's no proof of any of what the coroner is saying. Nothing. Because there's no proof that the students are dead in the first place. Nothing. Okay? And I even go so far, my friends, I always say there's been no open public casket ceremony. There was no open public casket ceremony. So you got a quadruple homicide that we're supposed to believe at 1122 King Road, and yet you don't have one young, beautiful person with an open public casket ceremony? Why? Why? I thought about that for a long time, my friends. And for quite a while now, I've been telling you why I think so. Because if this was an extraction removal operation, which I believe it is, that the students are alive, therefore you can't exhume the bodies, folks, because they're not underground. They're not rotting in the ground, my friends. These people are alive. Again, which is awesome news, in my opinion. Okay? They're alive, in my opinion. Extraction. Yes, someone also says extraction. I love when more and more people are really looking hard and often agreeing at times on this extraction theory because they know we've been lied to two ways to Sunday. Even devil's advocates who agree, can agree to disagree with me on some of this. He talks about many of the lies in this case too. Well, the biggest lie is that those students were killed in the first place because DA he knows too. I think we've talked about there. Where is the evidence to show that they're dead? I mean, come on, let's be real. I love DA. Guys, you got to check out Devil's Advocates. He's got a great sense of humor. He's brilliant. He's super intelligent, this guy. He's passionate. He's dedicated. I can't give enough accolades. And we got the amazing, beautiful, vivacious producer there, Robin, over. She's the amazing co-producer. She's fantastic as well. Amazing person. Very kind and compassionate person as well. And she's very passionate in this case too. She brings a lot of great information at times. And she really knows how to promote DA's show as well. Yeah, he's great. Yep, I agree. I'm honored to be one of the guests on DA's show. Hope you don't mind me being a guest over at Devil's Advocates, folks. Yes, with Joe 11 Robin and company and DA. And we do phone calls. So if any of you like Phoenix, she phoned in. If any of you want to call in, you can show your face if you want, if you're able to get through on a phone call. But DA gives you the option too. You don't even have to show your face if you don't want. But it'd be nice to show some of you that want to show your face and ask questions, make some statements from time to time on the show. But totally up to you guys. But I think it's cool that I asked DA a few times if we would do some phone calls, phone in. So he's starting to do that. Hopefully we'll do that a little bit more from time to time. Good friend, a lady friend of mine, Annette, who did me these amazing shirts. By the way, she came on the live in an interview too, folks. And I think she's knocked it out of the park at least twice now. And she tells you the same thing that I've been telling my friends. No blood, no evidence that those students are dead, no body bags, no coroner reports, right? I mean, no coroner leaked autopsy photos, I should say. No raw crime scene photos. She goes off the list that I go over through, my friends, that anybody can, right? It's great, but she brings it to the forefront. Sina says, and her name is Janis Joplin in reverse. She says, I have quietly watched and read true crime since the 80s, and nothing about this case makes any sense. What were the advantages agenda faking all these horrific deaths of the 4 students? Well, again, that is an amazing question. That is, I believe, a $50 million question. Why did they feel like they had to fake these 4 deaths, students' deaths? Well, I think part of it, I don't have all the answers, obviously. The only people that have all the answers are largely the people that are read into these very, very covert programs. Really, they're unacknowledged special access programs, which I might go into more of that secrecy on another live video. But no, I think part of it was that, again, remember, we were learning, once you dive into the IDAHO4 case, you start to learn, we all do, of a lot of the drug running that was going on, right? And they had the major drug bust in Washington State, just a couple months after, I believe, the IDAHO4, right? They arrested some very, very high-end, high-up gangbangers, apparently, cartel members, etc. So there was a lot of very important federal drug investigations going on. There was a multi-jurisdiction task force, right? Quad City there in Moscow, Idaho, doing these covert drug investigations. So I think that, again, if you believe, especially if a confidential informant was living in the house, and if they were compromised, if their cover was blown, for example, then the next step is, my friends, literally the next step is for the feds to rescue them. They're going to actually fake their deaths. Yes. And for whatever reason, the U.S. Marshals, therefore, they felt like they needed to fake not just one person's death. And Kaylee and Maddie, by the way, they were in the same room. So, and those girls had an amazing bond, right? So if they're going to do, I think the extraction was pre-planned in the first place. Maybe I'll tell you more why I think it was pre-planned and later on, but it was pre-planned. So they knew that, Kaylee, she's not going to go to another country and be extracted without Maddie. They're like two sisters, man. They were close, right? So that's why Maddie, I think, would go with Kaylee. And then you have Xana and Ethan, and they very well may have had their lives potentially at risk. The U.S. Marshals felt like maybe just because they were close with Kaylee and Maddie in some respects or certain connections, maybe that's why the U.S. Marshals felt like they had to get them the hell out of there too, right? Or they were participating, helping the feds with drug investigations as well, and maybe they were confidential informants and they were compromised, right, folks? I think all four were connected to each other with some of the operations that were going on, most likely in one way or another, with drug operations, right? So they faked their deaths, and we saw it, my friends. We saw the results, didn't we? The feds were successful by and large. You fake a quadruple homicide. You try to convince potentially maybe gang bangers or cartel members that, look, a hit was taken out on these four beautiful students, right? They're dead. We don't have to worry about them. Okay, we don't have to worry about them ratting us out. Follow me, my friends? Am I making sense? So you fake the deaths, and then you continue on with your covert drug investigations, that being the feds. And then you saw the end result. They did a major drug bust in Washington State. I think, my friends, that's part of the answer as to why those students were why the feds faked their death and using USC code 31 WITSEC to do it. Okay, where they can legally delete somebody. They can fake your death. Okay, that's just a fact. They can do that from time to time. This happens throughout history at times, my friends. These are real programs, believe it or not, my friends, right? Very covert. And then they just use CIA through corporate media to pull this shit off, right? You see all the robots like my friend Nancy Grace. I joke that she was my girlfriend, but Nancy knows I'm joking. But no, Nancy Grace, unfortunately, she's not going to tell you the truth, in my opinion, in this case. She never has and never will. It's a goddamn shame. Same with Ashley Bashfield, in my opinion, she's lying to us as well. The Brian Ennons of the world. I mean, even Joshua from Courtroom Confidential. I like this guy overall. He's a former prosecutor and now defense attorney, I believe. He didn't tell you any truth hardly of this case, my friends. He doesn't tell you about an extraction removal operation. He doesn't ask you, well, where are the raw crime scene photos if a crime scene took place, right? He doesn't talk about WITSEC law, federal witness protection security there in the United States, where they relocate witnesses and their identities. He's mum on all this. And yet he goes along that Brian Koberger did the crime. Like Nancy Grace and Ashley Banfield and the Drunk Turkey Show, my buddy Daniel over there. He used to be my buddy, but I'm very disappointed with him on the IDAHO4. He knows that. God, unreal. So there's a lot of grifters out there, my friends, I'll tell you, in my opinion, but we don't need them. We don't need them. It'd be nice if they told the truth, the people that I named, but it is what it is, right? This Joshua, man, he's so disappointing the way he's covered the IDAHO4. I don't know if he's told to put out the CIA FBI narrative, that Brian Koberger must be guilty. He probably did the crime, all this horse shit. No, I would say to Joshua from Courtroom Confidential, Joshua, dude, come on. The students are alive, and here's why we can know it. Here's why we see it for ourselves. It was a staged crime scene, dude. And you destroy the fucking house? And remember, my friends, the defense and prosecution, they were literally laughing in court during the hearings. They were laughing amongst each other of the dollhouse that they had. They were going to 3D print this dollhouse for the trial, and they're laughing about it because they know how ridiculous this is, my friend. It's all part of the show hearings, baby. Right? Isn't it? You better believe it is, my friends. They're all in on it together, in my opinion. Phoenix says, I'm telling you, if the murders happened, Dylan was a part of it. She lured Keely there that weekend and made a call, saved a number. Aha. Interesting. Let me read that again. Oh, I can't find it here. I'm not sorry, I couldn't find that comment again. But Phoenix also says Brian could be part of it, and his nice tan in court. Exactly, Phoenix. Brilliant. I said this on some of my videos. Actually, I said it in an interview with Ellie. I said, "You see this guy's golden tan? I mean, is it possible? Did they get that kind of tan just being out in the yard if he was for an hour or two, an hour a day? I mean, come on. I think this guy, Ellie, thinks it's possible you could get the tan, on your out in the yard, but I don't think so. I think more likely Brian Kohlberger, believe it or not, I know it sounds wild, my friends, but I believe the feds, I think they put Brian Kohlberger out of the United States. He's literally a fed himself for an informant. They flew him outside the country for a few weeks, right, as all this was going on, and then they fly him to and fro. They fly him back to the United States to appear in the hearings. He's got a new beautiful haircut, for a certain type of image that the feds want to go for, right? Maybe a bit of a hard ass look with the lines on the side of his hair. Somebody brought that out to me too. It's all theater, my friends. The feds, again, my friends, you can't underestimate how shrewd and organized some of the feds are. This is what they're trained to do, folks. Okay? And I think Brian Kohlberg was probably on a beach somewhere and brought back to the United States for the hearings. And that's how he has the golden tag. This is how these things work, my friends. Okay? Especially the IDAHO4 case, I believe. I know it sounds crazy because it is crazy, but I think it's the real truth of this case, most likely. Icalibs 222 says, great memory, Phoenix, in winter in Idaho. Thank you for that. I think I'm pronouncing your name right. Thank you. Sina Nepo says, nothing is below them. Totally agree. I guess because I have free, I'm guessing because I have free StreamYard, my friends, I can't give you a thumbs up or anything on the chat page. I don't know if there's a way to do it if even when you pay for StreamYard, which I can't afford right now. By the way, I rarely ask this, but I might start asking more, somewhat regularly, depending on how many more videos and lives I do on the IDAHO4 on my channel. But if anybody happens to want to contribute and help me out, I don't consider myself a grifter because I'm really digging in on the truth on the IDAHO4. And any money that if somebody wants to contribute, whether it be money or some other way, I'm not going to waste it. I promise you. I need some help. Let's just put it that way. I need help with in terms of editing, technology. I want to hire an editor, preferably for my videos. Again, I thank Joe for doing some editing there with the background. That was awesome. But Joe's a very busy guy. Obviously, Devil's Advocate, he's a busy guy doing his own editing, and where he has a amazing graphics artist as well, Amanda B, to help him on his channel. I need some help for mine because the goal, my friends, is to keep you guys interested, first of all, in the channel and guys and gals. And secondly, the goal is to get at least 2,500 subscribers. You know why? You know why I picked that number? Because Pavarotti, Jay Embry, he said that he will accept my challenge to a boxing match if I get 20. He puts these ridiculous conditions. I have to get 2,500 subs first. Then he makes me nervous when he says this. No, I'm just kidding. He says I have to win the boxing match. So I have to win before I get a chance to have a chance to interview him. I have to win the boxing match. Crazy, but I'm willing to accept his conditions at the moment. But I'm healing this injury. I haven't hardly worked out in over 4 months. My friends, it's driving me crazy. I can't even hit a punching bag. And Jay Embry probably knows this right now. So he's ahead of the game on me in some ways, even though I was super fit before this injury. But I've had a lot of injuries over the years, but this one has been very serious and devastating at times. But I'm trying to get it healed. So fingers crossed that I'll be able to start training, hopefully, at least slowly in the next few weeks, I hope. Let's see here. Phoenix says, I'd love to do a show with one of these days with you as a co-host. All right. And I'll be starting at page 2. I need help getting it all set up too. Our personalities can keep people interested. Thank you, Phoenix. I love your drive so far and your motivation. And it sounds like in some ways you might be a true crime junkie, especially when it comes to this IDAHO4 case. We'll be covering other cases on this channel too, my friends at Estes Crime Maze. One day I hope to cover the John Benet case. I'm really looking forward to doing more videos on Charlie Kirk. I think I just did 1 or 2. I didn't even have a proper thumbnail. I didn't have help with a thumbnail or anything. But I'm looking forward to doing Charlie Kirk and much, much more. But today we're again talking IDAHO4 here, folks, as you know. Yes, Phoenix, I would like to work with you, also known as Regan. We'll do that. Just keep in mind, Phoenix, I don't know if you can afford it or not, or in the near future. I can't afford it right now. That's why another reason why I would ask if anyone happens to wants to contribute to help me out. I don't have a donation page set up, so I apologize. Eventually, I will. If somebody does want to contribute, they can email me. If you ask me, I'll give you my email. And if you don't mind email money transfer, that would be awesome. It's the only way I could do it at the moment. Hint, hint. But so Phoenix, if you can ever afford StreamYard, again, I can't do it right now. I think it's about $70 or $80 a month. Then for sure you can invite guests onto the StreamYard. Like I have StreamYard right now, but because I'm not paying for it, to my knowledge, there's no way I could invite a guest properly, using StreamYard. So there's no way to do it. But if you pay for it, obviously that's why StreamYard allows all these added features, which is cool. Plus, for example, Phoenix, if you paid for StreamYard before I get a chance to hopefully one day be able to afford it myself on my channel, if you were able to do it, I'm just saying, then people who come on your chat, like the people that I'm seeing now, including you'll be able to see your name come up for what it's worth on your TV, for example. Or maybe you could still see, maybe you guys could still see your own names on the TV. Let me know, my friends. I'm all over the place right now. See, I got no technological savvy hardly at all. When you're on my live right now on, say, a television set, can you see other people, including yourselves, on the chat and see your questions or comments? I assume you can. So maybe what I should be saying is StreamYard, if you pay for it, of course, one of the many added features you do get, though, is you can invite guests. Okay. So Ichabel says, my original handle is on my TV. Cool. Excellent. All right. Phoenix says, my pic didn't come up, though. Oh, I don't know why. That's interesting. Hopefully, I'll try. Maybe I can ask DA, Phoenix, or maybe you could ask DA if I forget. If you pay for StreamYard, does that make sure that I'm sure you'd always see your picture, I would think then. Maybe it's because this is free. I don't know. Don't know the answer. So anyway, back to the audio real quick before we end this live, my friends, because this live was supposed to be more on the audio, but I've hardly talked about it. But there's not really much to say. DA did a great job. He loves to talk, as he likes to half joke. He's a great talker, and he puts out amazing information. It sure sounds like screams in the audio. I agree with DA that they sound like at times real screams and other times partying that was going on, whether it be a 112 Two King Road or nearby. But I would always believe, unfortunately, in this case, that the feds, I think the feds faked it. I think that's actually good news, I should say, because you don't want to believe that actual students were screaming to death, for their lives, right? I think it's safe to say that audio was manipulated. And one of the reasons I'm convinced is my buddy Outcast from 404, he believes that the audio, all of it was redacted. I believe he said he thinks that they just ran this thing through a program and that largely it's fake. That's why you hear sounds that almost sound like someone's underwater. There's different sounds. I believe Joe from Stay the Deep, I think it was different, maybe different audio, but he said that they fudged that as well. It sounds like they put it through some sound effects. So yeah, there's a lot of questions. I mean, I don't think we have to believe that the audio is from real screams. And again, my friends, if it was real screams, it's like what a lawyer said on DA's show. She was this beautiful lawyer. I think her name was Catherine McBride, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, she said something to the effect, she was describing the problem that she had concerning this whole incident, with the audio. She said that we're supposed to believe that everybody was quiet, because we did hear no neighbors or something, right? Quietness. And yet the 1122 King Road house is picking up all this audio sound, screams, right? You got the party going on at times, all this hollering. She says in so many words, and yet at the same time, coincidentally, we're supposed to believe that this is all happening before the actual crime took place, because officially the crime's supposed to take place at 4 in the morning. And then we're supposed to believe that there was no interrogation, because we didn't see any interrogation of Brian Koberger, right? That's huge red flags again. And that everybody we're supposed to believe was asleep, we were told, right, folks? And not to mention, I don't think she mentioned that you got Dylan Bethany alive. She did mention, though, that they delayed a 911 call for 8+ hours, right? You got to keep all this in context, right, my friends, when you're listening to the audio that we were given by Moscow Police Department, or Jules paid $900 to get this audio. I wonder if Jules would ever be interested in the interview with me down the road, because I would treat her with the utmost respect, maybe even kid gloves at first, and we could have a respectful interview, not even necessarily debate, but I would ask Jules, and see if she's been asking the question, well, wait a second. Could I be wrong, meaning Jules, could I be wrong, maybe misled that, wait, could Estes crime maze be correct? That maybe there wasn't a crime. Maybe Estes crime maze and the others that support his theory, maybe he's right. Maybe they're right. There's no proof, for example, that the crime even took place, that the students were stabbed to death. It was a staged crime scene, man. And maybe the U.S. Marshals therefore did extract these students. Maybe they are protecting the WITSEC program. Maybe the court docs and the audio that we're receiving now, a couple of years after the fact, no less, and it takes $900 from Jules apparently to pay for this stuff, but maybe that, unfortunately, is fake as well. Let's use some critical thinking. But I thank Jules for paying her $900 to get the audio nevertheless. I'm sure she's a great person, and she's got a great channel. I've seen some of her videos before, but maybe I would like to interview her, and maybe she'd be interested. We'll see. By the way, everyone, if other YouTube creators, like there's been one here that mentioned that would like to interview with me, I think Phoenix, and she wants to start up a channel, I believe. If there's other YouTube creators out there that want to I want to do a collaboration. I want to do not only one-on-one interviews. I'm wondering if people like Pete from Murder Metal Mayhem, for example, if he doesn't want to do just a one-on-one interview with me, I'm sure hopefully I could interest him. I've reached out to him though, and he's never messaged me back, so I don't know if he gets my messages. But I'd like to do a collaboration. For example, just as an example, maybe Pete from Murder Metal Mayhem, he could have A.R. Hayes, a Convict's Thoughts on with me, or his other buddy, Unfiltered Lucky. I'm willing to go with these people in an interview. Let's bounce our ideas off one another. Obviously, they're going to realize that I'm a smaller channel. I haven't done a lot of videos, not near as many as they have done. I've only done like 65 or 70 videos on the IDAHO4, but we've increased our subs very, very fast and dramatically. And I give a lot of credit, of course, to Lee from Devil's Advocates, DA. He's helped promote my channel. I'm now a guest on his channel, of course. That gives me great promotion as well, and getting my thoughts out there to the audience, to the wider spectrum, to you amazing people on the IDAHO4. So my subscribers, therefore, have increased dramatically. We're almost at 800 subs already, so we're getting there, slowly but true. DA always reminds me in the audience that DA was told from the get-go that it's very difficult to get that first 1,000 subscribers often. Once you hit the 1,000, I don't know if it's to do with algorithms, but after that, it seems a lot easier to get more, new subscribers off it. So that'll be something to look forward to after hopefully I hit that 1,000 subscribers, God willing, soon. How can I message you? Is that a real Facebook page? Or yes, I have a real Facebook page. I have two of them. I'll look for Phoenix. Look for that picture. It should be on my Facebook profile, I believe. And or there's also one with, look for the one with my sister and I, okay? I have another Facebook account where I'm with a group of amazing women in my country here during the freedom movement in Canada. But the one I want you to look for is that picture. And there's a picture of my sister and I. She's wearing a gray shirt with the Canadian Bill of Rights. That's the Facebook account that I use the most now. Even though there's less followers on that particular Facebook. It's a long story. My other Facebook that has more followers that I had for quite a while. Eventually, there's some security bullshit thing with Facebook they were doing to me, and I don't even know how to log into it anymore. So anyway, yeah, find me over there if you want. You can also send me an email, Phoenix. Yeah, I'll give you my. If you don't find me on my Facebook, I will. I'll message you with my email. Okay. The only time I'll give my email out is if somebody asks for my email, saying that they want to possibly contribute. Help me out with preferably a little bit of money, some money. That'd be great to help support my channel. Then I'll give my email out for an email money transfer or something, and I really appreciate the help. But if nobody does, then I won't hold it against you. I understand. Money's tight these days. I know. Believe me, I know. That's anyway. Ichabel says, I gotta stop doing these lives. Oh my God. Why? What's wrong with these lives? Why do you have to stop doing lives? I don't understand that. Ichabus222 says, I gotta stop doing these lives. Oh my God. Why? What happened? Ichabels222 says, I'm a narcissist, laugh aloud. She must have listened to me on the DA show because I was saying I was a wannabe narcissist. Is that you, Phoenix? Or is Ichabels? Ichabels is somebody else. Phoenix is Regan. I'm trying to get your names all organized here. So Regan goes by Phoenix, and Ichabels222. Is that somebody different? I think so. Oh no, Ichabels22 says, my name is not what you keep saying. Sorry, what is your name, sweetheart? I'm trying to see. It says Ichabs. Oh man, when I talk to you, Phoenix, can you tell me how to pronounce this lovely woman's name? I'm sure she's a lovely person. I keep saying Ichabs222, and I'm not saying her name right. I apologize. Please forgive me. Maybe Phoenix can, if I have a phone conversation with her or whatever, she'll tell me, or a message over Facebook. I'm sorry, my friends. Obviously, I'm sure other YouTube creators make the mistake sometimes. I would assume that they may not be able to pronounce a name. Maybe I'm terrible with names. Damn, I can't. I'm having troubles. Thank you for being here, though. I really appreciate it. I tried to pronounce your name. Oh, Phoenix says my real name is Jenny. Shh. Okay. Sorry. We'll say Phoenix. Thank you so much for being here, everyone. Feel free to leave me your opinions, or when I share this video, when I post it on my YouTube channel, feel free, my friends, to tell me what you think of the extraction removal operation theory, and or feel free, of course, to tell me, because this is what the live was supposed to be more about, is on the audio. Do you think it's real or do you think it's fake? If you think it's real, why do you think it's real? Why would you not have serious reservations or doubts about local law enforcement there, Moscow, Idaho, in charge of the IDAHO4 anyways? Why would you not have doubts that these guys and gals there would fake that audio? They've lied to us so many ways to IDAHO4 in this case, 2 ways to Sunday. I believe they even lied to us about the bodies. We haven't seen any bodies. No one's dead, okay, in my opinion. So I don't think we could trust the audio. It's just the way it is, in my opinion, But again, that's not to, I'm not talking negative about Jules at all. She paid $900 to get this audio, which is good. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But again, my friends, let's be careful. There's a lot of distraction that, elements of particular law enforcement at times and the feds want to do. And they will try to use, I guess, sometimes fake audio, put it through, say, a social media creator that's willing to pay the money, I think, and they'll tamper with audio, not Jules, obviously local law enforcement there. So we got to be very careful. That's all I'm saying, my friends. If we really want to get to the truth and get justice, ultimately try to, or at least know the truth. We may never even get the ultimate justice in this case, right, folks? Brian Kohlberger's already pleaded guilty, but we can at least bring more truth and transparency to what really happened, I believe, on November 12th, and a lot of what happened afterwards, too. That it's a huge cover-up, my friends, okay? And it's all legally, the feds it's all written in law, what they can do largely. Again, U.S. Code 3521 as well, my friends. They can They can do all this stuff under WITSEC. They use national security. We'll get into this more on live, my friends. They use the Patriot Act and prosecutorial discretion to be able to legally, they can actually fake a violent event. They can fake deaths. Okay. Yes. And I think that's what we're looking at with the IDAHO4. Faking deaths, faking a violent event, therefore staging it. They can legally do this, my friends. And almost every YouTube creator never talks about that. They don't look into this, my friends, or they don't know about it. But hopefully, with more people listening to my channel and me on the DA show, hopefully more people will look into this. All I'm saying. Cats Mojo says, hello, Estes. Arrived late to your live stream. I didn't think you'd recognize me, Cats Mojo. Great to see you. Don't I look different today? My face? Do you notice I did something different? I feel like a virgin on the first day, especially shaving. And I shaved off my goatee. But anyway, I'm talking a lot about myself now. I'm sorry, but I'm just joking. I did it for my mother, by the way. I'm half joking, but my mother, she couldn't stand my goatee, and mothers want their sons to look as young as possible. I'm not a spring chicken in anymore. I might be in my 50s, hint, hint. So, I think that's why my mother wanted me to shave the goatee off. So, and I love my mom. I don't live with my mom, but I love her, and I'm going to be seeing her, God willing, and my family over Christmas holidays. So I thought, you know what? I'll do this for mom. I'll shave the goatee off. So I'll miss it, I'm sure, for a while. But anyway. Regan says, I'm ready to dive in more. Cool. And Regan, let me know, also known as Jenny Phoenix, let me know if you're comfortable financially to do it and can. I'm just letting you know, if you're willing to pay for StreamYard, again, I'm not at that point yet, but if you're willing to pay for StreamYard, then you can have me on or anybody else you want as a guest, okay? And it'll be interesting when you tell me, if you do, what other features that StreamYard allow you to do. I guess we could look it up on Google too. And I look forward to that if I could ever afford to pay for StreamYard myself. But just to let you know, otherwise, Phoenix, I just guessing that we'll have troubles necessarily interviewing one another, being on each other's show, because we may, the best way I understand is to pay for StreamYard, for example, right? If there's other ways, we'll find out. But Cats Mojo, hat, no robe. Yeah, that's part of it, Cats Mojo. But I was going more, my face is different, right? I don't have the goatee anymore, man. I like my 2 to 3 days facial growth, especially during the summertime. I get a lot of looks, sometimes from the ladies. Gives a little bit of shadow, like when men have a little bit of facial growth, but not too rough. But in the wintertime, it takes longer for facial growth to grow, right? Because we don't have humidity. So I'll miss that. Anyway, sounding really high maintenance here. I love joking with you guys and gals out there. DA will teach us. Haha. Yeah. DA will teach us about StreamYard. Cool. Good. I look forward to it. I hope so. Regan also says, I will get it going. Awesome. Yeah, I'm going to talk to Lee on now. Oh, I can't see the rest of the comment. One sec, folks. Someone says Regan says, I'll be 50 in February. Congratulations. Embrace it. You look amazing for 50. What little picture I do see on my chat. You look beautiful, by the way, and I'm sure you are. I look forward to seeing more of you in the future, my dear. Big Mike Bam says, to be realistic, you can't believe anything law enforcement, FBI, judges, or prosecution has sold. Could be too past with WITSEC. Wow, I love that comment overall. Big Mike Bam. Did the rest of you hear what he wrote? What I just read? I'm going to take a picture of that one too, that comment. Big Bam just commented, to be realistic, you can't believe anything LE, meaning law enforcement, FBI, judges or prosecution has said. Sorry, I said sold, said. Could be too past with WITSEC. The only thing I would add to that comment, Big Mike Bam, that's awesome. I would say, how about 4 in WITSEC, not 2? We're getting this new narrative at times by certain YouTube creators, not that they're bad people. Most of them have great channels, I'm sure. But a lot of times people are saying, well, I think Xana and Ethan were stabbed first. we've discussed this even on the DA show, right? Well, anything's possible. But I will never believe, unless somebody can prove me otherwise, I don't believe I don't believe Ethan Chapman and Xander Canuto were stabbed to death. Why believe that? Why? Ethan Chapman, 6'3", 6'4". Even one or more two gangbangers would have troubles taking this guy out half the time. And but seriously, folks, like Ethan, he was a big strapping guy, and even if he's lying in his bed, for Christ's sake, and you got 3 other women you got to stab to death, and you're going to try to take this Xander Canuto? No, they're not dead. And Ethan Chapman's parents, they told you they weren't even angry at the assailant. They never cried. No open public casket ceremony for any of the victims, my friends. Ethan Chapman's family, my understanding is, they were the ones that had a private funeral service. No open public casket ceremony. All the rest of them were cremated right away. It's a bunch of horse shit. Why wouldn't you have a public open casket ceremony? You do autopsies, man. Come on. Right? But then we're supposed to be told, because the only justification why they wouldn't be, you have to almost fantasize. The only reason why they wouldn't have an open public casket ceremony, we're supposed to believe, well, gangbangers or Brian Koberger or cartel members, they literally, I guess, deliberately stabbed the students in the face, tortured them, mutilated them, so that the parents couldn't have an open public casket ceremony. That, in most crimes, my friends, wouldn't you agree? Most crimes, not every crime, obviously, but most of the time, at least you hope that most of the time with makeup, unless the face is really brutally mutilated, most of the time, with a makeup artist, God forbid, the family can have an open public casket ceremony at times. Or at least showing part of the body, hopefully the face. You're telling me that all 4 students were so brutally mutilated that the public couldn't see their faces in an open casket ceremony? Come on. I don't buy it. I did buy it for a little while first, but I wasn't thinking critically and I wasn't connecting the dots. But I know a lot of you are connecting the dots now. But again, my friends, this live, just like my other videos, these are my opinions largely, but the facts back it up. I really believe that. Thank you so much for being here, everybody. Thanks for the great comments, because overall, you had fantastic comments and great questions. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Phoenix, Regan, Jenny, for being here. Cats Mojo, thank you so much. Sina Nipo, 1970, you were on here a long time too. Thank you very, very much. There was another person that I kept apparently not saying the name correctly. It's spelled ICALIBS, I believe, 222. Did I spell your name correctly? And if so, I will let somebody else pronounce your name correctly then. If I'm not saying it right, I apologize. But you left some great comments. The Jules footage is very shocking, yet still not trustworthy. I love that comment. Exactly. I'm going to take a picture of that comment, and maybe I might even say it on the Jules show, on the DA show. And I don't, she's not taking a personal shot at Jules, I'm sure, when she says that, I don't think. When she says still not trustworthy, I'm assuming, and I agree with her, that she probably means that it's not trustworthy because of where it comes from originally, local law enforcement or the feds. You can't trust it, folks, right? Because we've seen how this case has gone, man. We've heard and seen all the lies, man. And again, my friends, if my theory is correct, and I think it is, that there was an extraction removal staged operation event, we're just never going to see Kaylee Gonzalez again. We're never going to see Madison Mogan again, most likely in the public eye. We're never going to see Xander Canuto or Ethan Chapman. They will be in a WITSEC program, probably, I'm guessing, in Puerto Rico, because as I've said many times, the United States, you'll find out, has a witness security program. That's the Federal Witness Relocation Program. They literally have infrastructure in places like Puerto Rico, my friends, right? And all over Montana, all over the United States. They have one in my powerful country in Labrador. But those beautiful students, my friends, I don't think they would live in Labrador, right? I don't think they'd come to Canada. I think they're going to be living on a beach somewhere. And because I think they're in the WITSEC program and that the United States has one in Puerto Rico, my guess would be Puerto Rico. And maybe, just maybe, somebody might see them in Puerto Rico or get at the very least, maybe they'll get some news circulating that they were seen in Puerto Rico. You never know, my friends. We can only hope, okay? Because I truly believe we're getting real close to the truth when I tell you that they might be in Puerto Rico. And if you can also voluntarily get out of the WITSEC program, my friends, by the way. Did you know that? Apparently you can voluntarily get out of the WITSEC program. And if that's the case, then, especially Maddie and Kaylee, for example, I believe they might run off to Costa Rica. And partly I say that because Kaylee's family, we know, likes to vacation in Puerto Rico. Kaylee's been there. Think about that, folks. Beautiful Costa Rica. So they may be going back and forth, Kaylee and Maddie, from Costa Rica to Puerto Rico. But I'm telling you, my friends, I believe they're probably living a beautiful, overall, low-profile life. This is what the WITSEC program will allow you to do. You can live a low-profile life. They just will not have necessary social media presence, okay? And very, very few people will know where they are. They may even go through plastic surgery. My friends, this is a real reality. These programs exist. And I believe these students fit the bill of what happened that night on November 12th, most likely. These are my opinions. And it's going to be hard to, to verify that for sure. But again, my friends, just look at the fact that not enough people are talking about, I don't think. No body bags, no leaked rock crime scene photos of the crime, of the students dead, right? No, as people said, no college students taking pictures. Are you kidding me? No blood mentioned on the 911 call, my friends. I can't wait to talk more about this with you on lives and videos, right? And over at the DA show too, as I've mentioned. No blood mentioned by Dylan or Bethany when they're calling 911 or Hunter. Are you kidding me? So you got all this blood from 4 students being viciously stabbed, the most brutal crime scene you can imagine. And yet nobody's going to mention there's blood all over here. Of course they're going to mention blood. This is the natural human condition, right, folks? But nothing in this case. And you know why. Reason, logic, common sense, in my opinion. Because there was no crime. The students, they're gone. They're alive. And this is good news. Everything I'm telling you is great news, isn't it, folks? Come on. This is positive. And I think it's accurate. And I think it's most likely. Hello, ESTEY'S, arriving late to your live stream. Oh, that was Cat's Mojo. Thank you, Cat's Mojo, for your amazing image on my other t-shirt that I got made up, the t-shirt. But thank you for that amazing image that I had put on. I really appreciate it. I'll look forward to wearing that shirt again in the near future. And that was, again, the shirts were made by another great friend of mine out in Alberta. So Cat's Mojo, you got a lot of amazing creativity as well and artistic integrity. Thank you so much. And yeah, unless, except my goatee's gone now. Your image had me with the goatee, but eventually I'll grow the goatee again. And thanks again for my friend Annette out there who's making these t-shirts. She's apparently making more t-shirts in the very near future for me and my channel and our audience. So I really, really appreciate that. She's on a roll. And she's a really creative person as well and very kind. So thank you, everyone. You guys are amazing. I really appreciate it. Fantastic. Just one more comment I just want to read here from somebody. Who was this? One sec. Oh no, where'd it go? Sina says, you are funny. It is. I call BS. I think that comment was left a few minutes ago or something. I don't believe anything. It's all contradiction. That was from Phoenix. Regan. I agree. Well, thank you so much for listening, everyone. And if you still believe an atrocity took place, that's okay. But for actual YouTube creators, and this is why I give DA so much credit, even though we can agree to disagree, I never take it personal with this guy. Even though he doesn't agree with me necessarily on the extraction removal, but he has to admit, and he has admitted that he's seen that it could be likely. He's turning a little bit towards that theory at times, but he still kind of agrees to disagree with me. He thinks that the students were stabbed to death, and that's fine. The reason why I really respect this guy, and there's many reasons, but one of them on this aspect is that he has the courage. He actually has the cock swagger and balls to have me on his show and actually allow me to talk about it in front of a wide group of audience. true crime junkies searching for truth and transparency and listening to different theories. He actually, will allow me to do that on his show, no less. And he came on an interview with Ellie and I, and he knew Ellie and I believed that the students were extracted. So I will always give credit to DA for that and respect him for that. He has real balls and courage and cockswaggers I like to see on his show sometimes. And I say that with sincerity and reverence, DA. Now it's time for you to send me those royalties you said you'd send me. We're all both half joking there, but maybe one day I'll get some royalties from DA. Who knows? But no, but really, but a lot of other YouTube creators, I don't think they're ever going to necessarily have the courage to ask me to do an interview, or when I reach out to them, they very well may never want to do an interview with me. Part of them probably wants to, but they won't fall through because they know that just by me bringing up the extraction removal operation, unfortunately, some of them, they don't have the courage, it seems. They don't want me to, they're afraid, I guess, that their narrative will be exposed. Maybe they're afraid they're going to lose a lot of subscribers or something. That's not my goal. I don't want people to lose subscribers. I think they'll still gain a lot of subscribers. I don't want to sound too narcissistic, but I think more or less if somebody has me on to be interviewed, I think even though we can agree to disagree, or and the audience can make up their mind who they agree with or who they don't, or if they agree with this person on certain parts, that's okay. But I think they'll get more subscribers, and a little bit of controversy is good, So I hope more YouTube creators will think long and hard and maybe just say, you know what? Yeah, I'll do it. If Estes Crime Maze, he's invited me for an interview, let's do this. And again, I'm not a big channel. I'm fairly new still. I haven't done tons and tons of videos. I haven't done hundreds of videos. Maybe over time I will. But we're almost at 800 subscribers already. I'm thankful. And DA, again, I give it a lot of credit. So I hope I can collaborate with other people. And again, I'm really looking forward to collaborating with some of you on the chat page tonight, for example, like Phoenix, who I believe has reached out to me. There may have been somebody else. I think it was Phoenix primarily. So really looking forward to hearing from her again. And we'll see if I see her on my Facebook. I'm going to check right now before I end the live, folks, just to see if I get perhaps an alert already on my Facebook. Wow. Phoenix, we're both on fire. I see you already. And I am confirming you, sweetheart. Thank you. I see your thumbs up. Awesome. Can't wait to see you on Facebook. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for being here. Hope you subscribe. Give me the thumbs up, all that good stuff. Hit the bell icon to be notified for future videos. Feel free to leave me a comment. Share the video. Again, this video was supposed to be more on the audio, which I didn't describe too much. But again, I think the audio, I think it's safe to say a lot of it was probably fake. I think the good news is, again, my friends, you don't have to lose sleep. Those, most likely the students, you're not hearing 4 students actually being stabbed to death at 1122 King Road on that audio. You're supposed to be, the feds are trying to hope to believe that some of the public will believe it, but it's just distraction largely. And, but again, I commend Jules if she did pay $900 apparently out of her own pocket to get it. Good for her to get the actual audio from local law enforcement. And DA's doing great investigations himself. And with Robin, they're getting, court docs and things like that. But again, keep in mind, my friends, we'll discuss this in future videos. That again, under USC code, I believe 3521, US code 3521, and other laws as well, my friends, they can literally, the feds, US Department of Justice, DOJ, they can fake court docs. We can't even believe the court docs half the time. It's interesting. We can read it, but let's keep in mind, and let's not keep our mind off the prize, my friends. They can seal records. They can fake court docs. They can add misinformation, disinformation, right? Because this is a huge cover-up. They can do just about anything. So let's keep our eye on the prize. That's all, my friends. And we'll get closer and closer and telling more truth here, right? We are telling more truth. Anyway, I'm starting to ramble now. Thanks, my friends. Have an amazing morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are. Did Phoenix? I think she said she's in the U.S., if I'm not mistaken. Somebody was from Australia. I'll check over Phoenix on my Facebook where she's from, or the comments later. And if she's from Australia, I expect Phoenix to have an accent, of course. I'm sure many of you have accents out there. Thank you for being here, wherever country you're in. Feel free to always tell me what country you're from if you want on future lives. And again, thanks for just being here and listening to what I had to say. Thanks, everyone. Take care. It's Estes Crime Maze. Again, hope you'll subscribe for us. Take care. And hopefully some of you eventually may contribute to my channel. That would be awesome. We'll make some sort of arrangement how you could do that. I really appreciate it. I apologize I don't have a donation page. Hint, hint. Anyway, enough said about the money. Bye, everyone. Until next time. Oh, and see me over at DA show. I might be on Monday night at 9 p.m. It'll be either Monday or Tuesday. I'll be over there. But DA is going live tonight at 9 p.m. on Sundays. I usually don't go there on Sundays or ever because Lee's not there. So I opt out to give myself a break, usually on Sunday nights. But he still has a show in progress. I believe 1-1 and Robin, the co-producer, at least will be on there. They might also have a third party. I don't know. And DA does he was going weekly one-on-one with Birdie every Monday night. Okay. Now, apparently, he's going to be doing it once, maybe every 2 weeks. So maybe he won't be on with Birdie on Monday night. Me personally, I hope that he's not going to be necessarily on with Birdie Monday night. But whatever he chooses to do, I wish him nothing but the best. I hope he has a good time. So if he's not on with Birdie next Monday, then I will be on, hopefully, the show with you guys and gals, okay, on DA Show. But regardless, get over to DA Show, subscribe, give him some love and our guests. And thanks very much, everyone. Thanks for being on my channel, too. Safe. Till next time.